Oh, hi there. Welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Capricorn energy. And, like usual, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Capricorn energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy. We have our dualistic nature, and we have to make these decisions in our life. And we might want to move forward in life a little differently, but the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone, our fears, our insecurities, and self-limiting beliefs or something. And because of that, some people maybe won't move forward right now or didn't move forward at some point in time in their life. And some other people kind of won the argument within themselves and they did move forward. And they could overcame some issues in their life, and their issues can be different than other people's issues, but we've all got our own issues to deal with, right? And the bottom row can represent our fears and our insecurities and stuff like that, or our more immature nature. Wow. Cards are just kind of flopping out here. And these cards are kind of big, so they really take up some room. But anyway, Capricorn energy is earth sign energy. It can have to do with what we view as victorious and successful. Is the truth that we're kind of more about ourselves or more about the world or things we like to indulge in and ego and image and stuff? Or are we kind of more balanced? And of course we want some of these things of the world, but we also aren't willing to sacrifice truth and love and justice and fairness. That would be more high vibrational energy. And everybody taps into Capricorn energy. This might be a story for people who are a Capricorn sun sign or have significant Capricorn placements. It might more affect them. Some people are moving forward in high vibe. Some people in a more worldly shadowy. Some people are still trying to decide. But we all tap into Capricorn energy. So in our own Capricorn energy of self, these things affect us. So the reason for the bottom row's reading is the broken heart, which we've all experienced, right? And typically, the broken heart reminds me of the 3 of Swords in the regular Rider-Waite deck. And we make these decisions in our life, right? And so do other people. That's free will. And sometimes we didn't make the best decisions in our life, and sometimes people we were in relationship or friendship with didn't make the best decision in their life. And either way, we've been in situations, and there could be some situations that we're currently in that maybe we don't think are quite aligned with our truth or just or fair. The 3 of Swords is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. We all have our truth at any given moment based on how we live life and view life and how we want to live our life. So does everybody else. And sometimes we're not on the same page, and we can be sad about it. But high vibe people accept the truth of it. Everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want. Everybody has their truth. Everybody has what they want to go invest time, energy, and effort into, and things or whatever, viewpoints, if they want to be more just or fair or not. And it's to accept the truth of it, because the truth sets us free. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have 3 cards not showing themselves down here. The Goddess of the Moon, the 10 of Cups, and the Door to Romance. Well, at some stages in our life, and some people are at that stage of life right now, they might not be people who want to align with their more hopeful, believing nature. Goddess of the Moon can kind of be Cancer and Pisces, emotional water sign energy. The 10 of Cups is, hopeful, believing, loving nature and high vibe. And the Door to Romance kind of reminds me of the 9 of Cups and the Knight of Cups, other more emotional water sign energy. Sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition, and pride comes before the fall, and we thought we knew best. And we have lessons to learn about listening to our intuition. But because we as human beings have free will, our intuition might tell us, I don't think that's a good idea. You shouldn't do that. You should go home. But we went and did it anyway. you know, and hopefully as we go on, learn more lessons in life, considering our intuition isn't like probably yapping in our ear all the time, but sometimes we could probably remember some times where it was almost like there was a voice screaming in our head, like, you should not do that. This is not a good idea. Hopefully as we go through life, we'll learn to, when that one kicks in, we listen to it. Because I think our intuition, our creative, inspired, intuitive realm, which is kind of what the water sign energy could talk about, it is kind of like the moon can talk about this hidden realm, and, Capricorn energy and living more from our mind than our heart. We can think that because Libra is air sign energy of the mind, we can think, no, 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 I don't want to listen to my intuition. No, I might not want to connect in with my emotions. Yeah, I don't want to, excuse me, I don't want to do any of that because that could tell me to do things differently than what I think is a good idea, or that I could view as victorious and successful. Because here we have the sun. We end the story with the victory card, two cards of Leo energy, which can talk about kind of looking very bright in the world, looking victorious and successful, getting justice in the world. Here we have the Five of Swords in reverse, which I view as like the Five of Swords, and that's Aquarius energy. And in shadow, it can be, we're kind of more caught up in ourself, like being the shining star and it being more about us, or all these things of the world, and to have a certain status or image in the world. And we maybe don't look at life from a higher perspective, or maybe have much hope and faith that if we were to do love or listen to our intuition and do kind of what our emotionally creative, intuitive, loving nature would maybe like us to do, that we're maybe afraid that that wouldn't work out anyway. So kind of a little bit of having given up on your dreams. Aquarius energy can have to do with kind of our dreams that we have of, again, with the Aquarius is also represented by the star card. So maybe don't view ourselves as having any unique traits or qualities or characteristics, or don't think other people will value us, or that really bothers us and we really want to prove people wrong or something. Shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil, so we've all got our more shadowy Capricorn nature of our more immature, shadowy, egoic, defensive, lack of faith and belief in ourselves, and we have our more high vibe nature. And we can all think in the temple path, that's kind of our Taurus energy of our philosophy of life, that nope, I'm not going to do love. I get hurt doing love. No, I've been hurt before. I'm not doing it. I know, I have an idea. I'm going to operate more from my defensive egoic nature. Or I'm going to make sure if I get in a relationship, it's more about me. Maybe find someone who's heartbroken, someone else who maybe doesn't believe in themselves or believe in their dreams. Perfect. They will be someone who will move forward in a relationship with me, and maybe because they're more fearful or codependent, or maybe if I have certain status or image in the world, they'll stay in a relationship with me, and regardless of what I'm like or how I behave. It's just, people can have all these weird ways of thinking in their own Taurus philosophy of life. If some people are very prideful and egotistical, if their idea of them looking like a shining star, I got in relationships with people who will never leave me. Oh, that's too bad. Did your person break up? Or did you get divorced? Yeah, I'm in a relationship with someone who'll never leave. Really? But yet, do they even like that person? Does that person like them? Shadowy Capricorn, kind of represented by the devil, and shadowy Leo can be that people are bossy and controlling and abusive and hurtful and unkind. Some people have people who they're like that, and then they have people in their life who, yeah, they've kind of belittled and berated, and, those people are completely been beaten down. They have lost maybe hope in themselves and hope in the world. And, at one time they maybe got in relationship or in friendship or a job, and they thought these people were kind of going to be loving and encouraging people in their life, and they weren't. And that's the, something we sometimes don't want to see when we get when things could have started out good, but then things went downhill and we keep staying in it. It kind of wears on our self-esteem over time, and um, it has much more negative consequences for us than we can foresee. But we could all stay in some situations because of our fear of getting out of it and fear of letting go of it. And the hostilities card, reminding me of the Five of Swords, can be that there could be things that we do like about it, in the Sun and the Victory card and the Pathway card of the Hierophant. At least we're maybe in a friendship or relationship, or we have a job. In some ways, it can make us have more stability or security in our life, or um, allows us, or we feel like it gives us more opportunity to, I don't know, if you feel like, oh, it gives you maybe a certain status or image in the world, or just that you even have someone to go out with, to go do things with. That for all those reasons, people could stay in something that is not their dream. And maybe that kind of breaks their heart. But, we're all tempted in our more worldly, egoic nature to not want to give those things up because, we want those things of the world. And if in a lot of ways it looks victorious and successful, and Taurus can mean that, like Capricorn is earth sign energy, there can be a lot of status or image to it, or there's just stability and security. And Taurus can also just be that, there's relationship, and we want friends, we want relationship, we want a job. So sometimes for all those reasons of those things we want, we're kind of willing to give up our dreams and kind of live more from our mind than our heart. And we could be rejecting listening to our intuition about believing in ourselves and what we would really, kind of the truth of maybe, some people would like to have, there's no water cards here, would like to be in relationships that are more balanced again, because we can make our life all about these things of the world, but what about love? And some people could be like shadowy fire sign energy. It's like, well, we have sex, and we get along okay, and this looks just and fair, but it's not more. Again, it can be abundant in these things of the world, but it could be very much lacking in emotional connection or be a more emotionally fulfilling. And we all have been in friendships, if we think back through our life, even from the time elementary and on, we've been in friendships, relationships with people that we wanted to move forward with. And we could have moved forward with some people and things, nobody was maybe initially kind of conflicted, right? Initially we can just want to get to know people. So then we kind of get to know people, and then, we could kind of move forward in life some with some of those people. And it's just a process of getting to know each other because we come in contact with all these different people in the world to try to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And, we might not know that till we've kind of been in friendship or relationship with people for a while. And, the reason for, or at the top of the top rose reading, is the deceit card, which kind of could have some energy of like the Devil card or the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy also. You know, we can move forward with people. The fives and the sevens can talk about these stages as we're moving forward in things, that they're kind of those we need to pause and reevaluate. Do we want to keep moving forward or not? Or, you know, I kind of think we think different. You know, what I'm driven and motivated by is different. And with some people, we can almost see right away. You know, we all know people at our workplace, in our community, in our family, wherever that, yeah. You know, your idea of what is just and fair and my idea are completely different. Your idea of the dream life and what you view as fulfilling, or that you find enjoyable, or that you take satisfaction in, or feel proud of yourself about, yeah, we're on completely different pages, right? But other people, you know, we might not know. We don't know them well enough, or we just haven't gotten to know them well enough. And so, and with some people, again, usually when we're first starting out in anything, they're, you know, if people were completely difficult to deal with, we wouldn't have anything to do with them right away, you know. But things could go well. There's no problems, no fighting. It seems like we have the same idea. And with some of those people, we keep moving on. And then we could get to the Seven of Swords. We might work through some fears and insecurities and past pain and heartbreak, be loving and encouraging to each other, and then we're kind of ready to move forward. Well, we might move forward, but then we're kind of at that phase of life for a while. You know, it's kind of like everything is kind of in stages. It's not like in one day you meet, you argue, you get married, you break up and you divorce, right? You know, it's stages to this. But then we could get to the next phase, which is kind of those kind of difficult transition stages. So sometimes we could have gotten in relation, you know, there's a lot of different reasons why we can get in relationships with people. Generally, part of the reason we get in a relationship with someone new is because something else didn't work out. You know, something that we kind of might have wanted to have work out with, you know, all this emotional water sign energy over there. Well, so then we're looking to get in relationships with other people, and so are other people, and they got out of friendship, and they're looking for a new friend to hang out with, and you know, an employer had to let go of an employee, and they're looking for an employee, and you don't want to be at your job anymore, or something happened, so you're looking for a new employer. You know, we're kind of people in the world kind of looking for other people. And at any time we're doing that, we could have some people in our life that are in our life that are kind of aligned with our more worldly nature. You know, we might not think the same, but there might be things that, you know, and have some of the same dreams and philosophies of life. But, you know, they could be people that we hang out with and enjoy, but they might be people who align with us in our more worldly nature. Then we can have some people in our life that we're moving forward with that align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, right? So as any of us are moving forward in life, we probably have these different types of people in our life. And then we're meeting new people or wanting to meet new people. And in the current relationships we have, if with anything new we're dealing with, we kind of go through these stages, and we could be at different stages with different people. Now, the reason for the top rose reading is the Patience card, which is Sagittarius energy. And again, the reading for the bottom rose reading was the Three of Swords. So, some of the people in our life, we could have been patient with them. Sagittarius energy is about higher learning and education, and his fire sign energy, maybe about kind of like Leo, trying to motivate and encourage people, just like we would like to have people be patient with us and be loving and encouraging to us. But hopefully we're not in such shadowy energy that we kind of think shadowy Leo that anyone can harness, that it should just be more about us, right? And as we work with different people, if we get to know some people and they do seem to be more about them, then this is kind of like the temperance card. You kind of realize that those people just expect people to kind of keep indulging them in their poor behavior. And eventually we don't want to kind of keep indulging people. If we can be loving and encouraging to people, but if your truth is you always like to be in more shadowy energy or defensive energy, maybe more about kind of indulging yourself in a relationship, or being more about you, or living more from your mind than your heart. And eventually with the deceit card, it causes us mental conflict because we could have love for them and there can be love there, whether they're our family member or friend or whoever. But if we feel like there's some things about it that even though people might not be saying things or being hurtful or being, maybe the Five of Swords can be people who kind of are difficult to deal with. Even though that can't be going on, if there's some underlying thing that is like, I can't really put my finger on it, but there's something. And that could be the difference when we get in relationships with some people. Some people are definitely more disconnected from their emotional nature. Could they be in a little shadowy energy because of some things that they went through? Sure. And they're working to work through it. And they're kind of inspired in their fire sign nature within themselves to work through those things. I don't want to keep staying kind of maybe in sad, depressed, defensive, living more from my mind than my heart kind of energy, right? But so those people, what some people that you got in contact with, though, they might like to live their life like that. They really don't kind of connect in with their emotions and their intuition. And they really could be people who, instead of dealing with some of these issues, it's like, nope, I don't got to deal with it. I have an idea. I'm just going to move forward in my ego. I'm just going to go get in a new relationship. I'm just going to get a new job. That's the answer. Or I'm going to go indulge in these things. Or I'm going to do all these things, looking to all these other things other than truth, love, healing, getting more balance within yourself, because the temperance card is about balance and high vibe energy is about balance. But some people always opt to stay out of balance because the truth sets us free. We get more balance within ourselves. And we work through our mental conflict. We work through our past pain and heartbreak. We see how we needed to grow and heal and mature ourselves, and how some people in our life needed to grow and heal and mature themselves. And we balance out our emotions about all of that. And we work through the mental conflict of it. And we don't give up on our dreams. I am going to listen to my more loving, intuitive nature for, could I have been sad because some of the people that I had been in friendship or relationship with at one time, either they've moved or they're not in my life, or whatever the case could be. I need to learn to, and that's how I view high vibe Leo, I need to learn to give myself what I wish other people would have given me, because otherwise I do stay more like a codependent child. And they work through those things, and it's not easy in the Seven of Swords. It causes us a lot of mental conflict. If you're used to looking to other things or people to be a loving and encouraging person in your life, and those people aren't there anymore, or you're not getting along, well, then you kind of got to do that for yourself. and um, and then in more high vibe Aquarius, to look at life from a higher perspective, keep things in perspective. And then we have two cards not showing themselves, and then we have the Queen of Swords, well, the thinking woman, which also is Aquarius energy. Life isn't always fair. I could be kind of jealous and envious if it seems like, why is this shit going on in my life and it doesn't seem to be going on in some other people's life? Well, and some people will be in that energy. And when a card is in reverse, it can mean extremes. And the Five of Swords can be people who are definitely don't look at life from a higher perspective, definitely could think they're the star of the show and everybody else should view them like the star of the show. And they think they view themselves as these victorious, successful, just fair people that people should want to be in a relationship with. But, they could be a little full of themselves. They could live a little bit more from their mind than their heart. A little bit more about the ego and the image and not very connected in with their emotions. And other people don't really want to keep staying in a relationship with them, even if they are kind of a just and fair and person. If you don't feel like your dream can come into reality with that person because they're not more balanced. They might have a lot of victory and success. They might have a lot of stability and security. They could be charming and attractive. They could look like they have justice in the world, male or female. High vibe energy is about balance. I don't want to have to sacrifice my dreams of being in more emotionally just, fair, balanced, loving relationships to stay in a relationship more for these other reasons, with free will and having to make decisions. If you pick this, you can't pick that, I mean, if it's like, well, I'm going to take a job. Well, unless you work part-time, if you take this job as a full-time job, you're probably not going to take that job as a full-time job, right? And if it's romantic, unless I'm going to be manipulative, deceptive, and hurtful and unkind and unjust, if I pick this relationship, I can't be in that relationship, one relationship or the other has to be my priority in my life. And just like we have our dualistic nature, I either let my more immature, shadowy, prideful, defensive, more about me, and I reject to some degree, make my more hopeful, believing, loving, intuitive, creative, inspired nature, and maybe my more just, fair, less defensive, less egoic nature kind of be in the driver's seat of my life. And everybody's somewhere on, Libra, represented by the scales of justice, everybody's somewhere in a way of living their life that they view as just and fair. For the people in the world that have decided, I think it's just and fair to be all about me, and I'm bossy and controlling and selfish and blah, blah, blah. Well, they think that's just and fair. And other people, needless, would I don't think that's just and fair. And everybody's somewhere on the scale, And we're kind of, again, next with the contract card with holding the scales of justice. And it's a feminine figure and wearing a blindfold. And the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. Some people are more emotionally connected in with their emotional nature. And they kind of listen to their intuition about the different people. And even though some people could look very... again, they could look like a pillar of society. That's kind of shadowy Taurus. They could look very victorious and successful. They could, Libra can be anybody in their Libra energy, how they harness it. Could be someone who, it's like their public politician persona, But if we listen to our intuition, and that's what kind of high vibe Seven of Swords is. I don't know what it is, but there is something not right. And the people who've listened, had enough life experience, they right away with some people could be, can I treat everybody in the world like I like to be treated? And when I interact with them, treat them in a respectful way? Yeah. Do I want to get in a more involved relationship with them? No. Because I don't know what it is, but there's something. And it could be with the attachment card next. High vibe Leo is being about being more authentic. Being authentically who you say you are. However you're trying to present yourself in the world, that is the truth of who you are. You're not trying to deceive people. You're not trying to manipulate people. You're authentic. I'm a fallible human being. Yeah, I went through some rough times lately. Yeah, it caused me a lot of mental conflict. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It made me really pick me up in my head, really made me question a lot of things. And it's really maybe taken a lot of effort. That's kind of earth sign energy, like Capricorn and Taurus. I really had to put a lot of work and effort to work through all of it because I don't want whatever different things have happened in my life to make me jaded, right? Because we do live in a world of duality where we have to kind of be given choice. So when I see that some people kind of act in a shadowy way, creating a little hell on earth, being petty or envious or jealous or bossy or controlling or bitter or whatever or unkind, yeah, that's what you're creating. I don't want to hang out with people like you. I am, if your truth is, I like to be more loving and encouraging to people, not to try to manipulate and control them and just how it benefits me, just so that we all have a better day and we all enjoy our day. And, if we become more friends or stay in friendship or relationship, yay. If not, at least we enjoyed today and we'll just see how tomorrow goes. And that's kind of high vibe energy too, just going with the flow. But other people can definitely wear a false mask, is kind of what the attachment card and shadowy energy can be, hiding behind their ego. They aren't like more authentically themselves, but it's all this mental construct of I act, and that's shadowy Leo too. Again, not picking on Leos. Everybody has the free will in their Leo energy of how to harness it. And probably at any given moment time, 50% of the Capricorns and the Leos and the Libras and the Sagittarius and the Aquarius and the Pisces and the Capricorns and the Cancer, 50% of them at any given moment are probably in more high vibrational and half of them not. And everybody else in the world in their zodiac signs at any given moment, probably 50% are more high vibe than shadowy. And you might just realize that you don't feel like, I know I've had some experience with people and it's just really wild. And unless you've experienced it, it's very strange. But, and you could know these people for years. But whenever you meet them, it's like you're not allowed to be a real human being because they don't want to do real human being interaction because that would require like that you're your own human being and I'm my own human being and we're going to admit that we're human beings who have all these feelings and different thoughts and whatever. And, it's like maybe shadowy energy, and it kind of makes me think Leo can be controlling, and shadowy energy can be where I want to kind of control you. And again, for people that are like putting on a show, it's like they have a pre-written script. And that's what I was going to talk about when, if you've ever known some people where when they come to talk to you or you see them out, you never have a more deep, meaningful relationship with them. And when they say something to you or ask you a question, it's almost like they ask a question and then it's kind of like, it's like telepathically communicated almost like, well, you're supposed to say this. that's like the appropriate answer. And it's like, so you say kind of what is just expected, and then they say what they say, and then you're supposed to say something kind of in that same line or whatever, And it's just like, oh my gosh, what if I said, it's nice to see you today, but I'm just really going through a hard time. I mean, they'd kind of, on one hand, they might want to know, because maybe they could use that to try to manipulate you or belittle or berate you to other people to build up their own ego because they're kind of shadowy, but for a lot of them, it would just throw them off, like, oh my gosh, like, oh, that's like sad or whatever. Or even if it was good news, it'd be like, oh, yeah, and they'd probably have to go because it's like, oh my God, but you're not doing the script. And I only like to be in relationships with people who follow the script. And I, of course, write the script, and I am the one, trying to control people. High vibe people are more balanced, they're more creative and inspired, they are more connected in with their emotions. And some of the people in your life that you could have been in a relationship with, they view life the way they view it. If you're someone who's more motivated and inspired to do love and believe in love and like to work together with people, like to be loving and encouraging to people, you could think, well, if I get in relationships with people and I love them and I'm being loving and encouraging and supportive to them, well, they would choose love. Like, who wouldn't choose love? Well, we have to realize in a world of duality, other people can seem like that is their truth, but then at the end of the story, we have envy because you're not manipulated by some of the things that still manipulate them. And for some of them, it's just that they have kind of disconnected from their emotional nature. They're tipped more in favor of living more from their mind and their heart, but they try to present themselves as harnessing more high vibe energy, and then try to get in relationships with people who are more high vibe and more just and fair and inspiring and loving. And they might think, well, I want to be in a relationship with loving people. Maybe it would help me overcome some of the things that manipulate you. Well, if that's, for one, the reason that you get in it, I mean, we can all want to, if we're heartbroken or whatever, want to be around some nice, loving people, right? Well, it's one thing to be around them, but if that's still the primary reason, is more kind of in a way to make me feel better, it's still kind of more about us, right? And so it's kind of a selfish viewpoint, right? Versus if we got to know people and we're friends with people, and before we got in a more involved relationship, we knew that wasn't the reason anymore. I've gotten to know this person enough, and just being friends with them and them treating me in a just and fair way and being loving and encouraging, which maybe some other people weren't, it kind of helped me come out from the shadow and the fear or the heartbreak, and they work through it themselves, and they come out the other end, and they work through things in their life that could have made them defensive and feel betrayed and wondering why other people, where they could kind of be in that envy energy and free themselves from it. Then you could all move forward together. Everybody's kind of more on the same page. But some people, it is more just how it will benefit them. Oops, one dream didn't work out. Bummer. But there may be, if they're not people who really invest in people anyway, really no skin off of their nose, I'm just going to go find someone else to go get in a relationship. And that's something we need to realize when we get in relationships with people who are kind of defensive to doing love, and it really is more just to indulge himself in it and for the ego or the image or the status. Yeah, when you can be really heartbroken if a relationship doesn't work out and you could have put in a lot of work and effort, that's like high vibe energy, to make things work and try to move it forward and make it just and fair. And then the relationship's over and they can just go get in a relationship with any person because, that's how they operate. I just want to feel better. And it's really just about me. And the other person is just someone I'm using as a pawn. And if it pisses you off and makes you mad, I feel so powerful, that shadowy Leo energy. And you just realize that those people are just, they were never emotionally invested anyway. But we don't want to stay in shadowy energy. So we do this work within ourselves to not stay in shadowy energy, to see the truth, realize that we can't have a more just and fair relationship with someone who's not inspired by a higher truth and justice. If their truth is it's all about them or the world and all those things, and it's not love that drives and motivates them, your truth is completely different, you know? And you're doing this work within yourself to get out of your ego of it, quit, work through maybe your own envy and jealousy that other people might seem to have moved on or have an easier time moving on. If you're someone who really emotionally invests in people, we are emotionally complex human beings, and it is, for those who do, it's not as easy to emotionally disconnect from people. But I think you will, because you kind of see through the illusion. It's kind of like your own shadow nature wants you to be more in your ego and be heartbroken, not believe in your dreams, not connect in with your emotions and your intuition. And some of the people in your life that you've known and that you will meet, that's how they live their life, and they want you to be in that energy. So do not let people who are in a more shadowy energy or your own shadow nature deceive and manipulate you. See the truth, maintain balance within yourself, stay focused on the bigger picture, stay focused on truth and love, and whatever shadowy energy kind of tries to stop you, because if you look at it like shadowy energy of the big picture is represented by the devil, and high vibe energy of the big picture is represented by God. God wants us to go on this adventure, to learn these lessons, get out of our ego, heal, see the truth, stay focused on the big picture. Don't indulge your more immature, shadowy nature, and don't indulge other people who appeal to that nature within you. I mean, you can. You have free will. But you won't go on that adventure you could have went on in your life to free yourself from your more worldly, shadowy nature, to be more independent in the world, free of things that manipulate you. And for some of you, you kind of did some of that work in the relationship. And when you could have been in a job, friendship, or relationship, or letting your more shadowy nature and people you're kind of, some of the people in your life you were hanging out with, they kind of didn't want you to go on that adventure because they don't want to go on that adventure. That would be stepping outside your comfort zone, and that can be scary. But we could see other people do it, and we're kind of jealous and envious. Like, why does that person seem to have freed themselves from things that manipulate me? Why don't I free myself from some of the things that manipulate me? And why do I let my past pain and heartbreak? And why don't I listen more to my intuition? And why don't I love myself? Why don't I get more balance within myself? And some of you are motivated by all that, and you did it. And when you did it, that's when some of the other people in your life had the free will to do all this within themselves and decide, like, I'm going with. And some of those people went with. And you could have had someone who did that, and you said, yep, I'm going with. I'm going to offer truth and love to the people in my life that I love to come with. But if they want to stay back here and keep doing this and defending living more from their mind than their heart, or fear of being more authentically themselves, which is high vibe Leo, come out from behind their ego, to let their more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play. Like, who wants to go play? Who wants to go hang out? Even though we're not children, we're adults now, but some people are like, just fearful of it because of their life experiences, or you're not conforming to the world. You have to act a certain way and behave a certain way, and you can only hang out with certain people and do certain things. It's like, yeah, you do that. I'm just going to go enjoy my life. I'm going to go treat other people the way I like to be treated and see who's open to interacting with me in that way. And they don't have to have a certain status or image or dress a certain way or be in a certain social economic class or blah, blah, blah. And some other people be like appalled, like, oh my gosh. It's like, well, then you should live your life the way you want to live it. I'm going to go on an adventure. Because life is about, Sagittarius is about going on this adventure to learn all these lessons and see how our ego and our past pain and heartbreak and our self-limiting beliefs and all those things manipulate us. And we come in contact with all these different people, and it helps us get more and more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. I'm going to go on that adventure to really kind of explore the mysteries of life. Well, some people are doing that work within themselves right now in a relationship. And that's when some people in their life can become kind of jealous and envious of them. And then they could try to control and manipulate them, be defensive to them, be kind of deceptive and manipulative. You've changed, you're different. You used to think this way and feel this way and act this way, and now you seem to be more free. What's going on? But they might try to do all these things to try to get you to stop because they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. There would be things they would maybe have to do within themselves that they would kind of need to see the truth of, that they might not want to see the truth of. Maybe they're just don't like change. Maybe they're not more, again, willing to listen to their intuition, maybe not willing to be more independent, maybe are much more conformist to the world or their friend group or their family group or whatever. Maybe they like to live more from their mind than their heart, and they wouldn't be able to do that if they did that life. And if that's what makes them feel safe and secure, they're going to want to keep living their life that way. And I think eventually the high vibe people, out of love, if I love people, I don't want people to, I want them to live their authentic life. If my truth isn't their truth, I don't want them to be in a relationship with me. But equally, I don't want to be in a relationship with people who won't let me live my authentic truth. And high vibe people aren't trying to manipulate or control people or be obnoxious or whatever. I want to have everybody treat each other the way they like to be treated. Be just, be fair, be loving and encouraging and supportive in the world. But there's some people in the world who don't like that because they like to just create the illusion they're that type of person, but you're not really supposed to be that type of person. And then if you work through your issues that you really are that type of person, well, then they can be jealous and envious that you're like the real deal. And, I view high vibe Capricorn as the King of Pentacles, which is you really have learned these lessons and you are who you say you are, and you're stable and grounded and mature, and you're less manipulated in your more immature, worldly, shadowy, egoic, materialistic nature. And other people try to present themselves, male or female, like they're a King of Pentacles. Like, oh yeah, no, I look at life from a higher perspective. I'm just and fair. I'm not petty and envious and jealous and manipulative and prideful and egotistical. But they are. And so, if they could have definitely thought, oh, people should want to come get in a relationship with me because I'm this just and fair or attractive or have clout or whatever, and you don't, and then they get in a relationship with you, and throughout the process, they you could grow and heal and mature yourself, but you kind of come out as more like the King of Pentacles, in some way. More independent, more emotionally mature, more healed, more balanced, more just, more fair, more authentic, and for some of you, more stable and secure within yourself or in your stability or security or financial position. Whatever one it is, they could not like it because you look like what they try to pretend to be in a way. When some people were moving forward, and as some people are right now, they kind of had to work through these two cards because they didn't want to repeat this pattern. So they had to look at how they kind of harness those energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, which is maybe what made them, well, for one, in the deceit card, they maybe weren't listening to their own intuition. They could have lacked some belief in themselves or belief that they get justice. They'd have to maybe be a little more bold and brave and confident within themselves. And they didn't maybe, in the envy card, have that belief within themselves. Well, if they don't work through that, they could repeat this pattern again. So they looked at how they harness these energies in a more shadowy way, which got them in some of these relationships. And they did the work to see the truth of it, because the truth set them free. They were inspired to put in the work and effort to get the truth. I do not want to keep staying in mental conflict. I do not want to keep being up in my head. I do not want to keep feeling betrayed. I do not want to be in shadowy energy. And high vibe people are inspired and bright and smart enough to realize I need to offer love to the situation, love to me and the situation, because love is the answer. And so that's what you did. And some people could see you moving forward in life differently. They could just think you're putting on a better show than they are, and they don't know how you're doing it. This is what they don't understand. You're not just putting on a show. You actually did the work to see the truth of things that manipulated you, which is something they don't do. And it set you free to get the justice you deserve. You saw the truth of how something within you manipulated you. Other people in turn, that same thing to some degree could have manipulated them, or they just had their own thing. But together, in some way, it worked out okay and you got along well enough in the world. And from a more worldly perspective, things could have looked, it's just like if we're out partying and we like to party all the time. Well, sure, does that seem not really hurtful maybe in some ways and fun and blah, blah, blah? It's just not moving our life forward. And it keeps us, shadowy energy it kind of keeps us dead and stagnant. And then we're kind of defending kind of our more immature nature, but not wanting to see the truth of it. But we're not kind of growing up and maturing ourselves, right? And if we keep doing that, eventually we'll probably be envious and jealous of other people. Well, look at them, and they just think they're so whatever. It's like, well, what were you doing? Well, they were doing that. Well, I was partying, man, and I was doing this. It's like, well, I don't know why. If you made your free will choice and that's what makes you happy, then be happy and live your life. If you didn't want to put in the work and effort, weren't driven and motivated by those things, then you have the free will to be envious and jealous or put in work and effort to feel like you're more in, move forward a little bit comparably in your own lane, But let's go see what these two cards are. The Journey card and the Storm card. So I kind of view the Journey card as Sagittarius energy, kind of in the Eight of Wands. And then the Storm warning is kind of like the Tower card, which the Tower can be about seeing the truth. And there was a part of us that didn't want to see the truth. And at some point in time in our life, we maybe weren't more motivated just to do this inner work within ourselves. Because we probably won't do some of that inner work until it does start to kind of cause us some mental conflict and some inner conflict. We could live our life at a certain phase of life and we're like, yeehaw. But then as time goes by, it's like, do I want to keep doing this? I had a dream and didn't plan to live my life like this forever. But then we'd have to, in the Tower card, detach from an old way of life, and we'd have to be inspired to kind of be willing to let some of those things go to move forward. And, we're kind of going to go through a phase of life until there's something about it that we start to have a problem with, just like any phase of life, you know. I'm kind of tired of doing that. Can we move forward a little differently to kind of get rebalanced? And you offer truth and love to your friends to move forward with you. And some of those people are like, I'm not coming. And that's part of the reason why we might not want to tell people kind of our truth and our dream, and maybe tell them about what we kind of think isn't just and fair, or what we're not enjoying anymore. Because some of those people then would be hurt, and maybe some of those people wouldn't move forward with us, and people could be upset, and people get in their ego, and people get defensive, and so for a long time we don't. But the whole thing is, it would be better to deal with it right away, but probably we as human beings don't want to deal with it right away, and we sweep things under the rug, and then it kind of gets bigger and bigger till it all blows up. But it could represent shadowy Sagittarius, of kind of like the journey card, and even kind of the Fool card is kind of maybe what the journey could be. We go on these journeys to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And then in the Tower card, it's kind of like the universe trying to make us see this isn't aligned with your truth. If it was at one time, it's not anymore. And you could have just been more unstable, where you were more manipulated by the world, pain, heartbreak, ego, hadn't learned to love yourself or something. And so you did all that work within yourself, and you kind of came out on the other side. No longer, you work through your mental conflict by looking at life from a higher perspective, getting balance within yourself, offering truth and love to it, working through the mental conflict. I want justice. And I have to see, it can't be just trying to find other people who are more on the same page as me. I need to align with the truth of what I want in my life. And justice is to require other people to adhere to that. If that's my truth, that's my idea of the dream life, and being just and fair, being more authentic, then if I'm in relationships with people and that's not the truth of who they are, or as time goes by, they start to not be that anymore, I need to speak up for myself. Basically, learn to let go of things much sooner than I did, and accept the truth. At any given moment, people are either in their free will making these decisions to be more immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, deceptive, manipulative, abusive, unjust, unfair, unkind, or they are harnessing those energies in a high vibe way. And when they don't, to call them out. Hey, what's going on? Like, call them on their bullshit. What the hell's going on? Because sometimes with some people, they really are being deceptive, and they are more shadowy than they let on. And it's just kind of waiting to see when can they test the limits, or try to cheat the justice system, or tip things in their favor. It's like, no, you can, and then you can go do whatever you want, and I'll be moving forward. Is this your truth or is it not? If you think you're missing out on something, then go do that. Enjoy your life. Or you grow up and temper your ego nature, and you quit indulging your more immature egoic nature. And there too, I don't want to keep being a disciplinarian to someone. What inspires you? What is your truth? If that's not your truth, then please go do that with someone else. So I can go find people in the world who are more aligned with my truth. And kind of the same thing can happen like in a workplace, you know. Do coworkers and supervisors and everybody want to have to keep like every day, did you do your work? Did you do this? Come on, let's go. Like a mother with some baby ducks, you know, it's like, no. Who is motivated to put in work and effort and is kind of motivated and inspired by it, kind of has the same dream, enjoys their job, enjoys feeling proud of themselves, that they put in a good day's work, you know. And then there's the other people who are like, I sat at my desk all day and I didn't do shit today. It's like, well, you know, but that's how they derive their sense of worth and value. Like, I'm so smart that I cheated the system. And some people do that in relationships too. It's this, they haven't realized yet that they're shooting themselves in the foot. This is not, that is nothing to be proud of. Not acting with character and integrity, but for some people, you know, that's kind of how they, a false sense of feeling powerful and controlling. It's like, you know, a true sense of feeling powerful is being proud of myself, that I've learned lessons in life and I've grown and healed and matured myself, and that I treat other people the way I like to be treated. Then I can authentically be proud of myself. And then again, those people are mad because you don't do some of the shit that they do. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy that they might not see coming up? And in a way, as some of you, you could be doing this work within yourself emotionally, and you're also kind of listening to your intuition. And it's kind of like, God, come on, God, come on, you know? But sometimes when we're going through a season of life for us to do this work within ourselves, we can't see how it benefits us, and the environment around us might not be right. And it's all an opportunity for us to, you know, there's many things that are a part to our dream. Sometimes it could be that, well, I want this and I want that. It's like, well, if that's not in your environment, you know, an opportunity, there's the only people around in your environment are other people who you might already know are more shadowy. Keep maintaining your balance, keep investing in your truth. And when your intuition tells you, either those people, you know, sometimes it's kind of like you can have shadowy energy around you. Because it's kind of like, if the devil can kind of drag you down, you know, the devil's going to keep trying to drag you down. But if you keep doing this work through your shadow nature of high vibe energy, eventually, like, the devil's going to move on to go pick on someone else. And then you'll be free to go. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Ten of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. And the reason is because of the Two of Pentacles. Because you, so 2 cards of Capricorn energy and the Ten of Wands, like the Temperance card and the Journey card, Sagittarius energy. You wanted balance. And so because you wanted balance, you were inspired to put in this work and effort in high vibe Capricorn to free yourself from things that you found overwhelming and people you found overwhelming and thoughts and emotions and people you used to invest in. And you picked up your investment in the things that were more overwhelming, where people weren't working with you more cooperatively in truth and love. And with some of the people, you picked up all your sticks and moved on. I'm not going to play with you anymore. You have some lessons to learn about what it means to play cooperatively with other people. And I'm going to go find the people in the world who might be looking for people who do know how to play nice. The Three of Pentacles is like working together cooperatively and high vibe from love. And When we see the truth, quit investing our time, more of our time, energy, and effort into people who show us that's not their truth. It frees us up to, and maybe we could look at the envy card as also kind of like fear. But that's high vibe Leo. Work through your fears to not let your own fearful nature, shadowy nature, and other people hold you back. Your high vibe nature wants to move forward, but it needs you to work through this. You're the only one who holds the key to set you free. And sometimes we look to other people to be the answer, but really it starts within you. And when you're in that energy, it can draw people who are more in that kind of energy towards you. And then there's other people, your own shadow nature and other people in shadowy energy don't want you to do that. They want you to keep not getting the justice you deserve. If people aren't working together with you and investing in you to heal relationships, to be more just and fair, then they might be people who are aligned with your shadow nature, and you need to go find the people who are aligned with your high vibe nature. All those people are in the world. What's coming, and then there's going to be other people who do want to balance things out with you. And you're just going to listen to your intuition. Is it for pride, ego, because they're overwhelmed? And if people are overwhelmed, I'm willing to help people and encourage people to feel more balanced within themselves. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No, not when you're in that energy. You would have had to work through it and come out on the other side. Because sometimes people are overwhelmed again or heartbroken or whatever, and then you're like the new vice in their life to make them feel better. And then that's your role you're supposed to play in their life. And it's like, no, already been there and done that. You kind of have to learn to get balance within yourself and do this work within yourself and kind of come out on the other side. And then we can see about getting in a more involved relationship. But in the meantime, you can be my friend just like a lot of other people in the world. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people? They don't see coming the Two of Pentacles and the Empress. And the reason is because of the Seven of Cups and the High Priestess. Well, the Empress energy in Libra and Taurus energy, some people keep juggling in their Capricorn energy, kind of going back and forth about what they love and what they think is just and fair. Should I do love? Should I be tipped more in favor of that? But I get hurt doing that. Would I have enough money, status, image, all that stuff? Maybe I should make it more about the world. You know, some people just can't decide what they love. If they want to give birth to anything new is also what the Empress talks about. Maybe we should just keep doing this. I can't decide. Well, that's the thing. People have free will. There's going to be other people who are like, I'm all in on moving forward, having hope and faith and belief and love. You other people can be shadowy or you can keep juggling. Some of the other people are like, I am all in. My truth is I am more about myself or these things of the world. That's my truth. And some other people are left juggling and the other people moved on differently. Yeah, so it's kind of like there's three choices, but then there's all the spectrum in between. But you're either more motivated and inspired by love, or you're kind of more motivated and inspired by the world or yourself in a shadowy way. And then there's the people who juggle. And some of the people who juggle, you know, well, if they juggle, which can be kind of like being two-faced, present themselves as being more just, fair, balanced, loyal, committed, and loving, but really they're kind of more about themselves and indulge their more immature nature and a little more superficial and shallow in the Seven of Cups, secretly in the High Priestess. And they could just be wanting to, the Seven of Cups talks about options, and they might want to keep their options open. Some people don't really like to commit. It's like, that's fine. Go find someone else who doesn't want to commit. Go find someone else who wants to juggle. Go find someone else who wants to keep their options open. The Seven of Cups can also be people who are more superficial and shallow. And there really is kind of like, well, I kind of want the best of both worlds. I want people to view me as more just and fair and loving, but I'm really kind of more about the world. And I just kind of create an illusion that I'm more loving. But, I try to hide that from the world because when I go back and forth, it could be harder to find people to be in a relationship because other people have picked a path, but I can't pick a path. When people are juggling or shadowy, they can always have more high vibrational, loving people in their life who would like to be in a relationship with them. But eventually, those people don't want to keep being juggled or being confused because some people could be juggling the truth. Some people could be juggling being just and fair. Some people could be juggling moving something forward, like taking it to the next phase that would kind of seem just and fair and victorious. And they want to, well, let's just keep doing this longer. And other people, some people aren't going to keep juggling. If you want to juggle, you do that. And I have my truth, you have your truth, and I'm going to move on. I have a dream I want to manifest. And if that's not your dream, you can do what you want to do with someone else. And the people who juggle probably are going to end up with other people who are juggling. Other people, well, there's no one, and that's the thing. What happens with people who, well, I want to be in a relationship and maybe there isn't people around that I really think are more on the same page as me. So then I just kind of get in relationships, but I'm kind of hiding that I kind of view you as an option. I might have some other options. I want to keep my options open. Well, what happens if someone comes along who would be someone they could view that they want to be in a relationship with? Ooh, well, that's a problem. Because they've been moving forward in something, kind of creating an illusion. Oh my goodness, this is like the relationship of my dreams. And oh, we're so happy and we're so in love. But really, they were just juggling. And then they could meet someone who they would like to be in a relationship with. But, that's a problem. We're also, again, in the Seven of Cups. These emotionally complex human beings, we get ourselves emotionally entangled in some people, and we could love them. There could be a lot of things we could like about them. Doesn't mean it's all shadowy just because it's down here. But then we might have a certain status or image, and we might have a harder time kind of being willing to take action on our truth because people viewed us kind of, again, the Three of Swords and the kind of the contract justice card is Libra energy. What about my ego? What about my image? What will people think? Well, for one thing, if things change, I don't know. I mean, that everybody's got to work through that. That's above my pay grade. I mean, I think in general, be truthful, be honest, work with the people in your life, treat them the way you like to be treated. If it doesn't seem like things are aligned with your truth, to be honest about it. You might find, sometimes I think when we're thinking that there's some things that we don't like, probably some of the people in our life are probably thinking there's some things they don't like also. Because again, we'd either be on the same page, or when we start to have these differences, it's kind of equally kind of having these differences. And some other people are like, I'm not going to juggle love. I am an emotionally complex human being. I don't want to get myself involved in something if I want to be free. If I'm living my life and someone comes along that I feel is on the right page as me, I don't want to be stuck in something feeling envious and I want to go live that life. I'm going to try to make the best decisions I can, overcome my fears and my insecurities about things that didn't work out, be truthful and honest, treat people in a just and fair way, And then if it seems to get shadowy or things aren't working out right, I might want it to work out right, but I'm not going to deceive myself. Something's going on here. And anytime you're going down the road of life, someone can start to drift their life off into the ditch. It's like, I'm staying on the road in between the bumper guards here. And you seem to have definitely gone down in the ditch. I'm going to keep doing this. So you do that if you want, but, I'm moving on. So I think more high vibrational people will get out of their life. And, because that is the thing. We might not want to see it about ourselves, but say you're kind of immature and reckless, odds are some of the people you eventually end up hanging out with most are other people who like that you're more immature and reckless, or they're more immature and reckless. Say if you are someone who really likes to drink a lot, people who don't want to drink a lot are not going to be hanging out with you that much, and the people who are hanging out with you probably do, right? Um, so some people who don't want to work through, they could be a jealous, envious person, but instead of working through their own jealousy and envy and maybe just think everybody else got it so easy, those people put in a lot of work and effort. It is not easy to free yourself from these things, which is why they don't. But yet they're jealous and envious of the people who did. And sometimes it's just because those people were willing to, in love, communicate their truth to some people in their life. I don't think this is just and fair, and some of those other people aren't willing to do that. Well, teach your own. But if you kind of did make a decision, and just like juggling is a decision, not taking action is a decision, indulging poor behavior in yourself or others is a decision. I think the more high vibrational we are and the more willing we are to see the truth. The tens can talk about closing out a cycle. The Queen of Swords holds the one sword. The truth is helping you close out a cycle that has probably felt where you felt wounded and overwhelmed. That you've been in Sagittarius energy trying to wrap your brain around all of it, to reconcile yourself with all of it, to see that everybody is where they're at, and some of the people who we didn't view as being more immature or manipulative or prideful or hurtful have shown that that is who they are. And it can be really confusing, but other people free themselves. And again, sometimes that's where shadowy people, it's like, I'm going to create this illusion about who I am. And then if you seem to think maybe that they should heal or grow and mature themselves, how dare you? And if you do some work to kind of love and believe in yourself, yeah, they can be really deceptive, manipulative, hurtful, unkind, and almost knowing in a way that it'll really screw with your head. And it's like, no, people who love me wouldn't do that. People who love me would treat me in a just and fair way, and you didn't. People who are loving act with character and integrity, and you didn't. People, you could have at one time, but then you didn't. And as long as that is your truth, I do not want to move forward with you. I am going to maintain balance within myself. I'm going to work through my own fears and insecurities to keep moving forward, maintaining balance within myself. So I will not indulge you or other people in this type of behavior again. And while they move forward and go on this new adventure, the other people could try to move forward with something new, but they're the same person they were. So they're doing things that kind of fit in with certain natural outcomes, right? So it's like repeating a certain pattern. They can get in relationships with high vibe, shadowy, whatever. It doesn't really matter. They're doing what they do, and that It's kind of like if you were to look at these different stages of life we go through, like say, like equivalent to get grade 1 through 12, they keep doing something maybe like whatever grade you want to put them at, but it could be like a ninth grader. It's like you can try to get in relationships with people who are like a 10th, 11th, or a 12th grader, but you haven't learned those things yet. So you are like someone who's trying to fake your resume and take a more mature position than you are capable of. And eventually the truth comes out and people see you are not qualified for that job, and those people want to pick up their investment in you and move on. And you can think whatever you want to think in your about yourself, and you can blame everyone else and be mad at everyone else. But until you're willing to see kind of why you take some of the actions you take, why you act or react, some of the ways that you act and react, is that just and fair? Are you treating other people the way you like to be treated? Or are you not? And if you are, that, shadowy energy can be people, they don't want to see the truth, so they kind of live in delusion. I'm just and fair. And they could have done these horrible things. But they still, no, no, no. I am. Or I wouldn't have done those things if it hadn't been for them. It's like you had the free will at any time. If you thought people were being whatever way that you thought was shadowy, to speak your truth and act with character and integrity and see what came of it. Some people, though, they don't listen to their intuition, and then they get all up in their head and they're sure that other people maybe are like them and just in it more for the ego or the image or the status, or they're not loving me enough and they're not making me the center of their universe enough, because they could do that within themselves. So anyway, hopefully that helped, Capricorn. You might know some people who you could know right now they're deceiving people, wearing a false mask. And God uses all things for God's good purposes. So when there's these shadowy people in the world, we need to be enlightened to the truth in high vibe Leo, that there are these more shadowy, deceptive people in the world who harness a more shadowy Leo, Libra, Capricorn, blah, blah, blah. And other people harness them in a more high vibe way. And there's other people in the world that still have a hard time believing that truth, just like some of us did. And they're going to get in a relationship with that person, and then those people can decide, is this my truth or isn't it my truth? And it really doesn't matter what they decide. If that's their truth, then they're on the same page. I'd rather have them in relationships with people who are more on the same page than trying to manipulate a loving person. But either way, it doesn't really matter. You know it didn't make you happy, and you moved on. But we're always kind of dealing with people like that, but just seeing the truth of who's who is more authentic, just, fair, loving, encouraging, seems to be who they say they are, who are the people who kind of go back and forth, kind of deceptive, kind of petty, whatever, immature, and keep your distance from them and invest in the people in your life who are more on the same page as you. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.